Hi Simon, welcome to FinStep Asia and MEDICI Presents Leadership During COVID-19. It's an opportunity for us to showcase how top fintech founders globally have been handling the crisis and leading their teams. So thank you so much for joining us today and talking to us about WeLab and WeLab Bank. So to start off with, it'd be very good. We have a global audience here to know and have you introduce WeLab and as well as the WeLab Bank to them, please.
Thank you, Moshe. Thank you, Amit. It's good to be on your show. So WeLab is a leading fintech company in Asia and operates one of the first virtual banks in Hong Kong. I founded WeLab in 2013, and we pioneered online lending technology and become one of the first and the largest online lending platforms in Hong Kong and China. To date, we have around 42 million users on our B2C side. On our B2B side, we have around 300 enterprises, and we operate in 3 markets, essentially Hong Kong, mainland China, Indonesia. We've basically founded it based on a proprietary risk technology, advanced artificial intelligence, and patent technology on privacy computing. We try to use the technology in the area of financial services where we enable ourselves and also our partners to provide seamless financial services fully online without meeting anyone face to face. I think the important thing is when we founded the company is over the years, we kept on asking ourselves, right, how does a fintech company beat 100-year-old incumbent banks in an industry where scale matters? So the answer is it cannot be with more money, cannot be with more years of experience, it cannot be with more branches, but it has to be with technology and data that scales. So basically, this is what we do.
Right. Simon, I also wanted to understand that, what have been the considerations and challenges as you grow from, a smaller fintech to a unicorn, and then also get a banking license and then become a virtual bank. What are the at these different stages? What are the considerations? What are the challenges that you sort of faced, and how did you sort of overcome them?
So obviously, of course, at different stages of the company, we face different challenges, right? Initially, we founded in Hong Kong, in a very small, like startup-ish area in Shanghai, right? And Hong Kong is a great place to do a fintech startup because of it being a international financial center. There's sort of great talents in financial services, and there's a lot of money passing through Hong Kong. And so that was how we founded it, and this is basically like a test bed for us to trial and test a lot of these technology. But at that time, we also asked ourselves, right, do we want to be a $50 million company, a $100 million company, or $1 billion company? And if we have the aspiration to be bigger than that, what we need to do is to make sure that we also expose ourselves to a large market. Now, Hong Kong is a 7 million population city. It's fantastic as a test bed, but in order to do so, what we need is to face a population much larger than that. So we entered into China. As we entered into the mainland China market, it's obviously a different competitive landscape, I think, but we were able to apply a lot of our technology and experience in China, incorporated it with a lot of the tech development know-how in China, in Shenzhen in particular, and then also use that as a stepping stone to enter into the 13 billion market in China. So China is a different market, but I think we're quite successful at that. I think we're probably one of the few fintech companies who are able to scale so successfully into China. And then China, we also from there went on from the B2C business and also explored the B2B business model, where we saw, I think in China over the last 5 to 7 years, right? They've seen a lot of successful fintech companies who are scaling up much faster than a traditional bank. And banks actually want this kind of technology as well to be able to fully deploy financial services online with mitigating a lot of the fraud and credit risk. So we're able to do that, hence it started our B2B business. And hence that's why we have the strong B2C and a B2B business. And from there, we also ventured into Indonesia, a Southeast Asian market that we really like, and being able to scale a lot of the know-how. So it's about slowly increasing step by step and also scaling the know-how from our last success, building from strength to strength.
Right. I also wanted to talk specifically about digital lending where you started. Now, in the current COVID-19 situation, the crisis, there are two sort of things, right? One is that the consumption overall is going down in multiple markets. People are buying only the essentials. The credit card spends are down. But on the other hand, theoretically, the digital products should do much better. Because people are staying home, there is quarantine. So between these two things, what are you seeing in terms of data points? Is it you're seeing a growth in digital lending, or which side of the equation is heavier right now?
Yeah, I think this is the COVID-19 is a particularly challenging situation for not just the fintech industry, it's for mankind as well, right? If we think about it, it's a highly contagious disease where the carrier of the virus is human being. Basically, you and me, right? All of us is a potential carrier. And like diseases like dengue fever, like diseases like dengue fever, which is a more a mosquito-borne virus, or plague, which is more rodents, but transmitted by rodents, right? You cannot kill off all the human being to stop the spreading. Hence, what the health authorities around the world recommended is social distancing, which is a very medieval kind of quarantine, and social distancing is a very medieval way to solve a pandemic, right? But that is the only thing we can do right now before vaccines are available. But that creates an even bigger problem, because social distancing is a completely opposite from how we have built the fabric of human society and economy, where we need to be together, spend money, work together, collaborate, globalization and stuff like that, right? So that becomes a very, very big problem. And every single industry, be it banking, fintech, is being affected, including banking and fintech being affected, right? Now, specifically on the lending piece of it, the lending side, right? I think we've seen markets that have a pretty big disruption. Now, obviously, the offline lending is completely being disrupted because you cannot go to a branch in many cities, right? You cannot go to a branch, you cannot borrow from there. There are markets where we've seen, for example, like China, that we're still a little bit cautious. I think what we're doing right now is we've greatly tightened the credit criteria, and we're very much more cautious on lending. We want to see how the economy, unemployment rate, everything will play out. We've also seen markets like Hong Kong, which is going through a similar case, but where the credit infrastructure is a little bit more developed. We have a good credit bureau, and unemployment rate is increasing as well, and it will continue to increase. But we're a little bit more confident with our credit model in Hong Kong, so we're still trying to grow that market. We've seen, if I compare March 2020 versus March 2019, our online application increased by around 36%. So there is a massive uptake in terms of online application. Now, if I look at, so that's pretty good. And we also ask ourselves, okay, what about the quality of customers coming through the door? Meaning this 36% increase. Are they the worst customers, or are they the better customers? I think in terms of average credit quality, there is an increase, because there are a lot of people who used to go to a bank. They cannot go to a bank branch anymore, and they have to resort to coming online. Now, we run WeLab, the largest online lending platform in Hong Kong. So naturally, we are one of the top, the preference, consumer preference. So we actually get a good increase in credit quality as well. Now, the next market that we're still observing, I think structurally it will change a little bit, is Indonesia, the third market that we're in. Indonesia, it's probably the last to get hit. We've seen China lockdown first, and then Hong Kong, and the US and Indonesia slowly getting there, the lockdown and everything. So we're seeing the volume getting impacted as well. We're also more conservative because it's the credit infrastructure is also on a developing sense. Thankfully, we have a very strong partner, Astra, which we had a joint venture with them together. So we're trying to leverage on a lot of their infrastructure as well to see how we can find opportunities in this difficult time.
Thanks, Simon. The next point will be, you have a team that's spread across effectively 3 markets, one being mainland China, where you have a big customer base and a big team in Guangzhou and Shenzhen. And then there you have a team in Indonesia and Hong Kong. And with COVID having hit from Jan, how has the team reacted to it? What's been, the BCPs in place, but what have the team structure been, especially considering you've been building a new bank, right? So compliance-wise, etc., how have you handled it? That's from a team perspective, A. B is, I would like to know very much about, how have you changed your leadership style? Have you been speaking more to people, organizing more team meetings, etc.? That'll be very good to hear for other leaders to follow.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question, right? I think because the strength of a fast-growing company, it's its agility. and ability to adapt, right? We always talk about this as the survival of the fittest and also the survival of the most agile, right? Or the most adaptable. So for us, right? So if we recall, the whole pandemic started in China around December, January time, and it really hit mainstream news, right? Somewhere right before Chinese New Year. I think the interesting thing is there was supposed to be a long Chinese New Year break. It started off probably from a Friday, and everyone's supposed to come back on the following Wednesday in Hong Kong, and China is off for a whole week. So before we went on the holiday, everyone expected themselves to come back on the Wednesday itself, back to life as normal. But in fact, most of us were home quarantined well beyond that. So most of us couldn't come back to the office. So everyone was hit by surprise. I mean, if we'd known that it's going to happen, we could have cleared the fridge, asked everyone to bring their laptop back home and stuff like that. We couldn't, right? So when Hong Kong, I think we announced working from home right after the government and encouraged everyone to work from home. We started doing that. I think we were quite fortunate that the staff in Hong Kong, most of us, almost 100% of us, use laptops. So we were able to go back to the office, grab our laptop, go back home and work quite efficiently. Even that, of course, at the first few days, people always not very comfortable with that, not very, it's different. Working from home for 8 to 10 hours a day is different from taking a conference call for like 8 a.m. conference call at home and go back to the office. I mean, you talk about long duration of being stuck at home, kids and cats running around, people calling me complaining about the dining room chair, the dining table chair is not comfortable. People complaining to me that they just cannot stop snacking and stuff like that, right? So it is difficult, and we realize a lot of mentality change and stuff like that, right? And I'm going to mix this question with the leadership style as well, because I mean it all comes hand in hand, right? And we realize that, and we know that China. So Hong Kong started on Wednesday, and we know that China probably will. China was supposed to start the work from home like a week after that, right? So we actually gained a lot of know-how from Hong Kong for the first few days. And we actually told the China team right away, saying, okay, you are going to start working from home the following Monday. You have 3 days, go and test all your VPN location, go back to the office, grab everyone's laptop and courier it back to the village that they're stuck. So we courier almost like 50 to 60 laptops to different parts of China so that people can start working from home efficiently. We test all the VPN location, make sure they can access the system. Some people need to, there's customer service who need to access a phone system, call recording system, everything, we'll make sure everything works. So the China team were able to get the efficiency up almost by 70 to 80% by the first few days, and almost 95% by the third day. So they came up the curve very fast, learning from the Hong Kong experience, that what didn't work from a Hong Kong experience rather, right? And now, but we compare to banks, because we spoke with a few bankers in Hong Kong, right, talking about the challenges they face working from home. One of the interesting thing was they complained that because the laptop penetration was pretty low, 20, 30%. So during the work from home period, they couldn't get the efficiency up because the people that they may not have a PC, or the PC cannot access the company network and stuff like that, right? So that becomes a big problem. And of course, we as a fintech company, we're very comfortable using Zoom, remote conferencing and stuff like that, right? But for a lot of companies or a lot of banks, right, they still use a very old like phone conferencing system and stuff like that, and they're not enough to share. So what we learned is actually the tech savviness of the staff and the tech and the mental readiness of the organization is actually key to a successful work from home. So you need people to be tech savvy, and you need the mentality there as well, right? I think that is another thing. So what we did, right, to help the team was, as we went through the first few days where Hong Kong, everyone was complaining to me about how boring it is, how uncomfortable the chairs, how cats and children are screaming at the background and they need to grab, cook lunch for their kids, right? We actually consolidated a lot of this and wrote an internal email to all our 900 employees to tell them, okay, this is what you should expect. Change from your pajamas at like 8 a.m. Please don't wear your pajamas for the whole day. Get yourself mentally prepared. Prepare a small corner, even in your apartment. Hong Kong spaces are pretty scarce, right? So that you can mentally transition to it as well. And that article become pretty useful, and a lot of us, our employees, encourage us to make it public. So we actually publish on LinkedIn. LinkedIn also following that also republish, and a lot of a lot of publication republished that article. It became a very popular article with like more than 10,000 reads globally about how to make this work from home, how to make it more efficient. So I think it is during these difficult times we discover that as leaders, we need to demonstrate our leadership skills in even more prominent and stronger and obvious ways. Because during uncertainties, your colleagues depend on the leader to tell them where they should go, and also depend on the leader to tell them that things will be okay. We'll be back, we'll be efficient, we'll win. So I think that is a very important piece. Of course, we have to remind people to over-communicate. It is so easy to just keep on working in your home office and don't call your colleagues. But I mean, because in the past when you're in office, right, you walk around the office, you say hi to colleagues, you bump into people. But at home, you don't bump into colleagues, right? So we encourage people to call each other more. We even encourage people to stop calling on phone line, do video calls. Even if I call a colleague, I'll use video conferencing so that I can see that colleague, and facial expression, all these things, it plays a very important unspoken part of the conversation. So I think all these become very, very useful tips. Another thing that we learned, right, is I think a lot of organizations have BCP, business continuity plan, where we say, okay, if you can't enter into the office, what are you going to do? But what we learned, right, in the past, BCP plan is mostly written for the typhoon day or snow out days, meaning it was for 1 day or at most 2 days, you cannot go into the office. So that means, well, you only focus on the most essential part of the business, the customer service, people being able to draw cash, stuff like that. But when we are faced with a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even Hong Kong, right? You recall we've been in this period for 2 months now, right? You need to make sure every single colleague is efficient, not just the most essential function. You can talk about, okay, there are things that is not essential on a day-to-day basis, like business strategy or PR. It's not essential on that immediate day-to-day basis, but you need to make sure 100% of colleagues are efficient, right? So that actually changes the way we look at BCP and how we prepare for things and the readiness of employees as well. I think so that is a pretty important revelation that we learned.
Sorry, I'm muting myself, yeah. So thank you so much, Simon. We are running as an element of helping with the community. We've been also working with the industry, and we have set up an internship program to connect companies, and a lot of students who've lost their internships or are not getting any internships. So we have connected about 200 odd students with 30 plus fintech companies, and these students are ranging from top universities in the US to Hong Kong universities and India, Singapore, etc. So we would love to see if WeLab would look at interns and send that across to you as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. We would love to support that. I think we love the fresh minds, and we love to share fintech with these young minds, and to see how they can participate and learn from us, and we can learn from them too.
Perfect. Thanks a lot again, Simon. Really appreciate your time and look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you.